All right, so let's get after it. So we're gonna do another video, but sort of like how I do it, except this one's not gonna be so much how I build the sign or do that. This is gonna be how I use my macros to take care of the Underwriter Laboratories requirements for installation instructions and compliance records and things like that. So again, using Corel really helps fill out forms, auto fill out forms, use for our install instructions, stuff like that. So this is mostly going to be, yeah, showing you what macros are, but also this is kind of delving deeper in that I'm trying to make a how-to video for maybe some of the people at work who would be interested in doing this, and maybe they could sort of do this at some point. That way, maybe I could get a day off. That'd be great. So anyway, so I'm just going to kind of go over this semi-briefly, quickly, whatever, and then but it's just sort of a how-to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be making the installation instructions for these reverse channel letters for Solus Wealth Management. They go on the back side here. So anyway, these are all built, and so now we need to do all the documentation and make a installation instructions. So this is how I do it. So I grab my launch pad here, and you'll see where it just says UL right here. So this has gone through many iterations, but that button right there launches my UL stuff. And so what this brings up UL machine 3.0. This is the third iteration. Now you can see where I'm not going to really win any, user design, user experience, UI, awards for this, but it basically works for what I need it to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to be popping open the install instructions and creating a file and everything for a folder for Solus here. So first thing you do is just take it's the job name creator. So you just kind of work your way through these frames. So the date code will always pop up. It just queries window. My programming just queries Windows and it gets the date. But this is able to, like, if you need to like retro date something or change the date to something, from years ago or whatever, you can do that if you want. But it's not really necessary. So I just closed it and reset it. So it's back to March 1st. So anyway, so just leave that there. And then the job name creator is basically you're going to type in what it's going to be called. So we're going to call it what it is. We're just going to call it Solus Wealth Management. There you go. And sometimes I would like maybe add, channel letters or whatever, but this is fine. This descriptor will be plenty enough for this job. So we kind of know what's going on. So what you're going to do is just right here off the top of the bat, you're just going to press check, make folder. What that's going to do is literally check or make a folder. So if you click it, it's going to query. I have it going to my desktop right now. So on my desktop, there's no folder called this. So it says folder does not exist. Would you like to create this folder? I hit yes. Okay. Then the second thing it does is it queries the, would you like to save it to the job name list? Now this job name selector is a list, a pull down list of all the jobs that I've done so far. That way it keeps track of everything and makes it very easy in case I have to reference this job later. Would I like to save it to the jobs list? Yes. And so you can see where it now populated here very quickly, but you can see where this list is all of the jobs that I've done. And the way this works, just so you kind of understand, there is a .txt file that this updates just that fast, super, super quickly. And what it does is it clears this out, updates it, and then parses it and loads it back up. So if I want to reference Mama Gina, if I want to reference like this Lolo Interiors, all I need to do is hit this and it'll load it back up. And it even adds the date code. So you can see where Lolo Interiors was a January 26, 2023. It would load this back up that way. And I'm right back to where I need to be there. So the fact that we've updated this little text file is awesome. So we're set. So you just check make folder and you can see where on my desktop, I now have a Solus Wealth Management with the date. This folder is ready to go. Now, if I'm working remotely at home, so I have everything just go to the desktop. But what I do is I have this hard coded at work to go to the server file, like the server drive, wherever I need to put this. And then that way all files will go there automatically. So I don't even need to go to the Windows Explorer and search around and try to find things. It automatically will put this folder anywhere you want when I'm working at work. So, but for right now, I'm here, so it just goes to my desktop. So then the next thing you're going to do is you can go to folder, you can go to info, all that stuff. You don't have to worry about this right now. We're just going to worry about install instructions. So the next step is just to hit this. Now, when we hit install instructions, what it's going to be doing is it's going to be pulling up a .cdt, which is a CorelDRAW template file. So I have a basic template for all install instructions. And then what it does at that point is then the code tells it to grab this name and this date, and it basically saves as and creates a new document with a Solus Wealth Management, and then it closes the CDT, the template. So that way, this template stays clean and it's fine. So just pushing this button will open this up here, right? And then now we have that. So open install instructions. Now, there are 3 criteria for channel letter or any kind of sign for UL. So you either have a dry condition, a damp condition, or a wet condition. And so if by clicking one of these, when you open up the install template, it's going to auto-populate whether it's a dry, damp, or wet. So it's very, very important to select this first. So it's default to wet because pretty much everything we do is outdoors. You can see this is going to be outdoors getting wet. So it's a wet condition. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hit this button here, open install instructions. It's going to open that template and then save as. So just click this. It takes a moment. This computer is actually pretty fast, but it still takes a little bit of time. And then it's going to ask you to just save it in your documents, which is fine. You don't really need this anymore. So just save it in your documents. Fine. Save as. And you can see where install instructions master has now switched to Solus Wealth Management. And it gives it an ISTR little rating thing there. That means instructions. And it also puts the date. So we're all set. So now you don't really need this right now. You can set this aside. So you can see where this is a template, where this is like just, sitting there generic. There's nothing on there. Page 2 is also is just kind of generic. This would be more for like a monument sign that goes right here. And then this right here, you don't mess with this. This is just boilerplate. But all Underwriters Laboratories, they need specific terms and phrases and kind of rules and things inside everyone. So let's say you buy a coffee maker and it's got UL on it. Well, the instructions you get aren't just, this is how you use your coffee maker. But UL has actually stipulated that there are terms and phrases that are required to be in those. So like this right here, a ballast transformer, LED driver, like all of that, this is supposed to be in these instructions. So that's compliance. Now, UL doesn't grade you. It's not like a grade where they say, ooh, this is a very nice installation instructions. Some installation instructions look horrible. They're very confusing. But as long as you have what's required by them, then you're pretty much covered. So, but again, so page 3, this is just boilerplate. You don't mess with this, but this has to do with the field branch wiring. This is how to handle the section wiring for like secondary load and all that. So now I keep this one blank. This page is for any sort of custom method of attachment. So you could copy paste in from the permit drawing or something like that. Just Rob, you'll just plagiarize JR's work. But then I also have just boilerplate ones here that cover the majority of what we do. So page 6 is reverse channel letter. That is what we're going to be doing. So we'll just leave that. But you also have facelit channel letter with trim cap, all that. This is sort of a raceway mounted version. And then this is sort of a push through cabinet. And then this is more of like what we do for Cabazon. So, and then this is going to be a raceway addendum. Basically, this is like what we expect for you if you're going to use a raceway, this is like what we expect for you to like caulk it together, make sure it's sealed up. So this is your template. This is the template that gets opened and then created into a document. So we'll just be getting rid of the pages we don't use. But for right now, so you go back to the full size here. And so when you're dealing with the install instructions, this is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper because this is literally going to get printed out and then sent with the sign. It doesn't get removed from the sign. So, but then this is, let's see, this is 91 inches. So what we need to do is grab this, because this is representative of what we have going on. So I like to grab this, I'll just copy. And then what I do is I'll just go to like a blank page, just open a separate blank page, totally disposable, like a little like a little palette here. And then what I'll do is I'll just shrink it down. Now, sometimes what you want to do is you grab your properties here and then select everything and hit scale with object, just in case there's a line or something that's going to get froggy. But you're just going to grab this and then just proportionally shrink it down and just get it down to where it's going to be, that's 7 inches there by 1 inch. So this will probably fit on the page. Next, you just grab this, copy paste it right over into your instructions. Find out where it went. There it is up there. And there we go. So this is looking pretty good. So now again, you got to have sort of empathy, because you got to realize that there's going to be somebody who hasn't ever seen this sign. These instructions are going to be for somebody who, like pretty much 99.44% of our signs are going to be installed by our guys. They know what's up. They don't really even need these. But these are there in case somebody's called in to service the sign and has no idea what's going on. So you want to make sure stuff's organized. You want to make sure it does make sense, even though UL kind of doesn't really care what it looks like. They don't grade you on that. So, okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to save. And so you're going to use this first. So like I said, the first page is going to be kind of for like channel letters, that kind of thing. The second page will be for monuments and pylon signs, because like here's the ground, that's the earth. And then here it's going to be more like representative of a wall, and then what's exterior and what's interior. So by looking at this, obviously we have the sign itself is going to be exterior, but we are going to want to put the power supplies interior. Now, if this was on an outside kind of thing, then what you could do is, get rid of this, copy that, and bring this down. And then this will let them know that this is both exterior and exterior. So let's say this was in a raceway on the other side of a parapet, then that's kind of how that'll work. But for right now, we're just letting them know that this is going to be inside the wall. That's going to be outside. Now you can see where suitable for wet locations. That's where this automatically fills that out for me. If this was dry location, so it'd say suitable for dry locations only, then we would go ahead and flip that. We'd get rid of this and we would do an interior and an interior. But that way this lets them know that this is not supposed to be exterior if this said dry locations. So, but we're not going to worry about that right now. This defaults to this because this is, 90% of the time, this is what we're doing. All right, so now what we're going to do, save this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show the circuit. So we know that this particular sign only has one power supply. That's all it needs. So there's our power supply. And so what we're going to do is we can get rid of these extra color lines here. And not that the purple's default, but it always seems to be the one that's like, right there. So you can see where these are 12 to 24 volt class 2 circuits. That means secondary. So this purple dashed line represents the secondary LED 12 volt, 24 volt going to the sign. You can see here where the black going this way is our branch circuit. That's our line in, our shore power, if you will. So you just leave this representative of the power supply. There you go. And it lets it know it's interior. So now what you do is, we can get this kind of out of the way for right now, is using the macros. You remember the video on my Mr. Goodbar here. So if you hit this little purple button, this right here makes a outline around this, just like that, at a percentage bigger. That way this is just how we want it. Then what you do is select dotted, and because this is purple, you hit purple right here, and it creates that in a purple. Otherwise, you have to go here to properties, and you have to type in numbers like an animal, and then you have to find the dotted line that you want. So by using Mr. Goodbar here, I already have it all defaulted, and it's all set. So now that you have this surrounded, this lets the installer or the service person know that this whole circuit is now going to work off of that. So you can see all I did was just nudge this node to that. And now you can see where this basically says power comes in, power supply is on the interior side, and then it goes through the wall, and then it's going to light this up. Now, this is getting picky, but you want to notice that Wealth management does not light. These are just acrylic letters. So what you want to do is be clear about it. It's fine. I'm sure the person who goes to service this would realize that those are plastic letters. But what we're going to do is quickly add a couple nodes. So I grab my node tool here and I hit plus, and that adds a node halfway right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit again, and it adds a node here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to nudge this over 16ths like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this here, and I'm going to nudge this up over here. Now what we can do is you can fudge. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this, and I'm going to nudge this down a little bit just to get clearance. So it's clearance. So that way it's clear to whoever's installing this. Then I'm going to take this node here, line it up, and I'm just going to move it up a couple clicks like that. And there you go. So, and then if you want, you can kind of move that back. So now this is clear that this little power supply, and I'm going to go ahead and move this over just a little bit so it's not so close to that crook. There you go. So this is very clear to anyone who goes up in the attic, opens up these install instructions, looks at this, that one power supply goes through the wall and it's running all of this. And then wealth management is not included in this. So that should make it, pretty clear to whoever. So again, save. And it's just that easy. This is what the macros do. This is how having a template ready to go is great. Now, if this were multiple circuits, all you got to do is take power supply, multiply it, move over, make as many as you need, and then just duplicate this with different colors. So you make this a blue, you make it green, whatever, and then you just, do it that way. But you also have to be creative. Sometimes this is really large, so you might have to end up doing multiple pages and just make it clear that see page 2 and etc. You might actually have to shrink this even more down and try to get creative with how you show all your different power supplies and everything. Like for Eagle Mountain, I had to do this and it had to fit, and there was 10 power supplies with 10 different things. So I had to get really creative with how a large giant sign is going to show that it's broken into parts and it's clear. So you got to get creative, you got to imagine things. So anyway, that's that. So let's save this. Page 1's good. So now you can see we don't need page 2. Now let's go ahead and get rid of all of our redundant pages. So I'm just going to hit delete page. This one we keep. Page 3 we keep, obviously, because that's just standard boilerplate. We don't need this one because there's nothing custom. And then we do have reverse channel letters. So this is the one we will keep. The method of attachment, reverse channel, but we can get rid of regular. We can get rid of this one. We can get rid of this one. And we can get rid of this one. Now, there aren't any raceways, but I like just leaving this anyway. It covers bases. Why not? Whoever is doing this knows there's no raceways. I just leave it. So this is basically what you end up with. You end up with this nice little install instructions. Good to go. Now what you do is hit save, always, respawn. And then now what you do is down here you have open install instructions. We already did that. Now what we do is hit update instructions. And what it's going to do is it's going to fill this area here with the date and the customer name on all the pages, because it's going to take this information here and the date. So just hit update installations, boom, like that. And it takes a little minute. It resaves it. It does a save as. And then you can see where now this has populated the date on all pages here. Boom, boom, boom. So we're all good to go. And just like that, all you need to do now is hit export instructions to PDF. This automatically, with one hit, it names it, creates a file. It basically does this where you go down to file and you say publish to PDF, and you have to do all this and type like an animal. This lets you just be a gentleman. You push this button, and just that fast, you have a PDF on your desktop. So you can see here, it's already put as a PDF. It's all named. I click it open. There it is. So this is our PDF ready to print. What's going to happen is this is going to get printed out. It's going to get stuck in a little baggie, and it's going to get stuck to the sign, and it's going to be with the sign its entire life. So that way there's clear instructions of what's going on. Boom, boom. But you can see how easy that was. So now what I do is just take this and dump it into the folder. We're good to go. So that's that part of it. That's the instructions part. and you're pretty much done with that. Now, what you can do, the next thing you have to do is a letter build sheet, because these are channel letters. And so UL also requires a document to say, how did you build these? We need to know the materials and everything. So we're done with instructions. I'm going to close this, and we're done with this. We can just, this is disposable, get rid of that. So now what we're going to do is, based off of this information here, we have 2.5-inch deep returns on these letters. You have a 2.5-inch logo, 2.5-inch light bar. This is all 2.5-inch. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a letter build sheet that's going to, you're going to explain this. And again, using the UL machine, I have letter build sheet and monument or cabinet build sheet. So you got to choose these two. Again, what's going to happen is it's going to use all of this information up here, and it's going to open a template and then save as. And then we're going to be able to quickly knock this out. So I'm going to hit this button here, letter build sheet, and it's going to save. And again, it goes into documents. That's fine. And it just pops it open to make sure there it is. You know, there's instructions, there's letter build. So you can see where it takes the name. It actually puts letter build, so I know what it is, and it puts the date. Over here, wealth management, INSTR, I know those are instructions. So really clearly named, we're good to go. So you can move this out of the way. Don't need this right now. And then over on my other screen, this popped up. So you can see where this is channel letters and this is monument cabinet. So you keep it on channel letters. You can see where this is auto-populated thanks to our, I just took this and put it here. That's that. The so you just work your way through. You see this frame here, illumination, it defaults to LEDs. That's all we do anymore. Leave it to LEDs, that's fine. So now for channel letters, you start with returns. You see this frame here, this box, just work your way over. What are the returns? You see here what's face and what's the backer. And then this gives you, pull downs and things like that. So you'll see what's up. And you can see here, this is the template that was open here, and it's gonna be a blank page, but we're gonna fill it with this. So just go through, answer the questions. Return material, drop down menu, we use 050 return, and it's mill aluminum, right? Is it aluminum letter coil? Was it routed? Was it shiny silver laminate, et cetera, et cetera. So this was mill aluminum. And what was the depth? We're gonna go 2.5. And we're gonna say, how did we make it? Was it off a coil? No. Was it table saw? Would we run in through table saw? No. Was it routed? No. It was sheared at 48 strips. That means that we sheared it on the stomp shear. There you go. So you could add return length. Let's say you routed some strips that were a certain length. That's fine. Now, how did we do it? We pretty much welded it. If things are really skinny or Lords was involved, we will do that. Now, I know that light bar pretty much involves Lords, so we're going to include Lords here just so that we know that we had that in our system. Now, if there's anything else, you could just custom type whatever you want, any more information. Now let's go over to the face. So we know that we used 090 faces. We mill and aluminum. But I have a whole list of stuff here. If the faces were polycarbonate, if the faces were made out of acrylic, things like that. But we're using 090 mill aluminum. Was there trim cap? No, leave that blank. Face mounting hardware. I know that we use number 8 by half, right? Sheet metal screws, self-drilling, machine screws, set screws. So sheet metal screws. Was there any vinyl on the faces? No. Was there any other info for the faces? Now, yes, because we did have, this was 090, but it had backed up acrylic. So I'm just gonna put that here. I'm gonna say, let's just say backed up acrylic on left logo. And then I'm gonna say 3/16 white. Import. This is basic import. There you go. And then we go to backer. So what kind of backer do we use? We used 3/16 clear. And that's why I give you the different colors. You have white, white on white, red, 7328 white, 2447 white acrylics, the 2793 red, or do you have the 2283 red, etc. But we used clear. And then this is where I have import polycarbonate, the Sabic Lexan, Macrolon, and Tuff-Ac. So make sure you pick the one. And so we use Tuff-Ac polycarbonate, 3/16 clear. Was there any vinyl put on this? Whether it's diffuser on the back, whether it's perforated, painted on the face or whatever. And then was there any other info? No. Now this defaulted. I got to open a trouble ticket with the guy who makes these macros, me. I need to get rid of this. This defaults this because we used to do this. Just get rid of that. So double check it. 050, 2.5, sheared at 48, Lords welded, 090 mil, all that stuff. Good to go. So what we're going to do is make sure you're back on this sheet here, right? And then if you hit fill channel letter sheet, it takes all this information and goes in these boxes here. So hit that button, boom. So you'll have your name, your date, illuminations LED. This is your return description. So it's 050 mil aluminum, Lord adhesive and welded, 2.5 returns, sheared at 48-inch strips. So all of this gets put there, gives you all this information, lets you know the backer, we're good to go. It doesn't need to be pretty, it just needs to be recorded. So then what you do, now if you goof up, you just hit clear sheet and it strips it off. Hit it again, you're refilled, good to go. Now all you do is hit publish to PDF, just like the other thing, bam. And just that quickly, you'll see that there is a PDF just stuck right to the, just like that. One, you know, look how fast that was. Push a button, we're all done. So we're gonna go ahead and drop that into the folder and we're almost there. So for the intents and purposes of this, there's also an MCR sheet that needs to be filled out, but the MCR involves Adobe and all that. There's nothing to do with Corel. That's something else. So we're not gonna worry about that. So this is pretty much everything I do with my macros with Corel to create install instructions and to create the letter build, you know, record sheet, just that easy. So, all right. So if you're looking to do this and get going on it, then just use this as a little bit of a how-to video. Other than that, if you have any questions, hit me up. Check the